Hello, everyone, and welcome to Chat from the Deep, our weekly live stream to post-session discussion. We talk about what just happened during D&D. This is the chat for session at Nintendo 64, so if you watched that session yet, please go do that because there will be spoilers. I'm your DM, Eric, and joining me, we have Gottwald's player, Chris.
Hello.
And Max player, Raymond. I made a ton of progress this session.
Did we?
Kind of. I don't know. It's always hard to say on dungeon crawls, like, I guess there's not a whole
Which
lot of...
direction we'll go, and
Yeah. Well, just how long you're going to take in each room. But there's not
that's true.
unfortunately, a lot of interactivity in some of these rooms. You did basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rooms.
What?
Yeah,
Are most of those rooms just hallways?
kind
'Cause
of.
I don't remember actually doing anything in all
One
but
room was the
three.
prison, which granted we couldn't
Oh,
do it, which I did think back and forth on that, whether I wanted you guys to do it or save it for later. Ultimately, I decided to leave them locked for now and make you have to do the other stuff first.
yeah.
So it was a kind of a tease, like, hey, here's the characters, you guys can't interact with them yet. So that was one room. The ventilation kind of middle corridor was one room, technically. The empty operating table, which those had creatures in them, but all those creatures aggroed to the other room.
Oh, okay.
And then the cafeteria was a room, so that's 4 rooms on that side.
Okay.
5
Oh,
was the
right.
poisonous gas trap corridor. 6, the ventilation shaft that Max saw. 7, the ventilation shaft that you saw with the Swag and Illithan hybrids. 8, another little corridor hallway. 9, the long hallway with the skull at the end. And then 10, the room you're in now, which is the... I wrote down it's the Mind Flayer rest break room, which has a bunch of skulls and then the restoration pod.
Yeah. Okay. So like 9 rooms, but only like 3 of them are actually interactable.
Right. So it's a weird thing where it's like it's a lot of rooms that are kind of have a little flavor thing and like, oh, okay, and you just move on to the next one, but
Right.
it's still hard as the DM to gauge like how much content there is and how long you guys are going to be doing all these things with. So
Right.
obviously combat takes some time, although you guys absolutely blitzed that one combat hilariously.
I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I thought that was pretty funny how we just they didn't even get to do anything.
Right. It is. So this one feels the most like a traditional dungeon crawl compared to all the other areas.
Mm-hmm.
But none of the fights are designed to be particularly difficult, except for the one that Mac just opened. All the rest are designed to be, kind of pretty easy fights that just sort of add up and cause you to use up a few resources. The one kind of unique one, I guess, was the pipe one that had a bunch of other shit going on there.
Oh yeah,
And I guess you'd have to
sure.
fight the troll boss in that one, mini boss. But yeah, otherwise it's the other one with the named Mind Flayer in it that was supposed to be the big challenge battle down there.
Which I'm not complaining about that. I feel like occasionally fights that don't pose much of a challenge that we just blitz through are fine. It's a nice like level set too.
Yeah.
I feel like not every fight has to be like a knockdown drag out. Sometimes we encounter a room full of 4 guys that we can just eliminate quickly.
Right.
And
Yeah.
move on.
And the players do remind me of that all the time. That's like, hey, it is fun to just be able to kick ass and blitz our way through a fight, which sometimes I feel bad about, and other times I'm like, that's fine. In this case, these guys, all came down to initiative, to a large part, and they're just a bunch of kind of peon level guys ready to get blasted in that case. So that's kind of what they're there for.
They got 1 mind sliver off, and that's it. I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yep, and then I think, was there initially a Mind Flayer in this room? Or did I put that Mind Flayer in there? I don't remember.
Oh.
Because I did have to change some of these rooms. That's right. Okay. So initially, both the other named Mind Flayers are in this. Well, I could go ahead and tell you now because you've pretty much gotten all these spaces. Both the named Mind Flayers are in this dungeon. I changed it to only make one of them in this dungeon, and the other one you perhaps will meet later on. So that way that can kind of separate them out a little bit better.
Originally, it really was like a whichever one you encounter first.
Actually, in fact, originally, like 3 of the 4 are in this one area.
Oh.
And then the 4th one, I think, is just in the other dome, I believe. And then I looked at that going, okay, can I spread these out throughout the campaign? I ended up only putting 2 of them in other spots.
Yeah.
And then one of them was still going to be the boss in this area with a kind of unique, cool thing about them. And then the fourth one I'll just put later on.
Okay.
So I replaced that named one with just a generic mind flayer. And it was funny that you mentioned like, hey, are you a special mind flayer? I was like, no, I changed it. Just a generic one. Yeah. The one you needed was down here. But
that's why I asked.
Yeah, that's fair.
Not every mind flayer's, there's got to be more than those 4.
So this is like the first time in the whole dungeon that you guys actually have to explore a space looking for a thing that's not just we're always going towards where we know it is.
Yes. This reminded me of a thing that happens a lot of times in video games where there's an open floor plan dungeon. But it happens, this is in Diablo too. Diablo 4. You get to the door, it's like, well, you've made it to the end of the dungeon, but you haven't finished the dungeon yet. You have to go back and do this, then come back here and you will let you pass.
I literally cite that during crafting all the time. Folks who watch the
chat,
yes, will say that's my philosophy with dungeons is like I like good open dungeon designs, but I'm always trying to make sure that you can't just scoot ahead to the boss immediately because of a random path that you took. Because if you think all the way back to when we did Lost Mine of Fendover, you guys made it that very final boss room in like 2 sessions, and I was totally unprepared, like hilariously unprepared. Yeah. I was like, oh crap, they just like went up one way, just made it there. And
is that the only time? I feel like I'm memory may be bad, but is it the one time where you basically said like this door doesn't exist? You like told us like beyond this door is an empty void. It doesn't exist yet.
Probably to where I was that unprepared for you guys to get that far. Probably, yeah. I think before I looked at it and be like, okay, now I'm gonna say that this room is locked or whatever his purpose is. Right, but that was the one time I was like, holy fuck, I don't have anything here. Yeah. Since then I've learned my lesson and yeah, come up with other ways of like locking things and having the thing be nearby, which is
you can't go here yet.
Yeah. So that's something I changed here in this dungeon. Same thing was like, first of all, I don't even think oh, that's right. So yeah, I actually changed. There's a whole second floor to this dungeon that I eliminated. So all those ventilation shafts are actually a second floor. Okay. And that's where the brain is at. But I looked at that second floor and just went, you know what? It's got like the lab. I've already did the lab before in a different place with Thilios' whole chamber. So I already did that stuff. It's a lot of more kind of empty rooms. I'm just going to get rid of that whole second floor. There's plenty here in the first floor. And instead we'll put the brain in this other spot. And then we'll just make sure to like super lock that door so the party can't actually get there too early. And then I like the excuse of like, oh, but you literally have to like get the boss key to open that door. Right. So you found like the Zelda like thing where you have to get to, but now you have to get the proper key to get to that door. But and I like the twist here because you've been like I said, you know where you had to go this whole time, but now all of a sudden you're like, oh, now we just have to explore the space and figure out like where the thing is.
Right. Yeah. Which is fine. Yeah, I think that works well. Like okay, no, now I have to go and explore the rest of the dungeon.
Yeah.
I get that's a fine mechanism for that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like you said, like we're just beelining it to wherever the head says to go.
Right.
So we're not really in explore mode, but this kind of puts us like, okay, you can't just beeline this one. You do have to explore.
You do have to explore. And it's just unfortunate that I was reading the dungeon going like, okay, yeah, a lot of this is just empty rooms.
Yeah.
You know, there's not a lot of...
There's actually not a lot to see here.
Yeah, it's not the most interesting. Even after I eliminated the second floor and was like, man, there's just... Yeah, after we had the one cool like battle in the pipes, where we aggroed all the enemies on this side. Now there's suddenly nothing but kind of empty rooms with not much to interact with.
Right.
And then we killed those one enemies over there. If you guys had gone in the shafts, you can basically teleport to these different areas.
Okay.
I will say
that
I was gonna make
guessing
in case you travel through it. I won't go totally, but I will say you have to do a thing first or make a check or make a save against something to get across to the other sides. But that was my excuse for like using the second floor holes is like, okay, well now they're just ventilation shafts that connect these different areas together. You guys can technically take.
Yeah.
And you found, I think you found all of them.
Right, but they just connect to each other, right? They're not going to somewhere else.
I will go ahead and spoil it and say, yeah, they just connect to each other.
Yeah.
Originally, they were to the second floor, but yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
And yeah, bless you, Ray, for splitting the party and opening the boss room door. That was amazing. Certainly gonna make things even more challenging.
Yep.
For sure.
It usually
Being
does.
half dead.
Yeah.
I'm ready. I'm ready for us to just die.
And roll a
Man,
new character like 5 sessions from the end of the
I
game.
was gonna say we are. In fact, I honestly thought this area would take. Well, I guess it will take another. Yeah, because it took this session, and then we'll definitely spend one more session, doing this battle, and then unlocking stuff and doing all that. So that'll definitely be a
That
session.
old person is nasty.
It's real bad.
Yeah. It's extra bad because the dude concentrating on is inside a fucking mech suit too.
Right. So I assume that means concentration wise, physical damage is just going to plink off. I mean, maybe damage the armor, but not going to trigger concentration.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
seems like a solid argument in the future for one of us just putting ourselves in a ball or something. You can't get to our concentration now, suckers.
Yeah. Can be pretty powerful. I
Mhm.
can't believe we made that save against Dominate Monster. Man, I almost had Savra dead to fucking rights if I could have had a Mind Flayer and Gottwald.
Yeah,
that would have been crazy.
I mean, you had like a 75% chance of getting with it.
Gosh, twice you have made
yeah.
a save against Dominate Monster, which was like I was like, I'm gonna target like these Mind Flayers know you all. They know who to target. They know weaknesses. Like they're always gonna try to open with Dominate Monster on Gottwald, and motherfucker makes a save every time.
Just the odds were not in my favor, but the dice said no.
Yeah.
And then a turn later, I rolled a 1 on a intelligence save. So
Yeah.
it's not like it's just luck.
Yeah, they did get off the cone attack.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that would have been pretty
that would have been huge, like because
gnarly.
you carved up like half his hit points, then Savra nearly did the other half. Otherwise, it would have been like.
I would have liked to have seen it to see like how Heather reacted. Like, would she have gone after the spellcaster trying to knock out the concentration? Would she have tried to nuke me quickly, like, and then move? You know, like, I don't know.
Escape mode. She might have cast like Dimension Door and then like I'm gonna teleport away.
I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, go back to a place. In which case, well, this got interesting.
Yeah, exactly. That was just a malignant Gottwald roaming the halls.
Malignant Gottwald. But honestly, I think we're getting real close to the end.
Really? Because it doesn't actually feel like it. It feels like we're like in the middle of a dungeon, but it's just the way the dungeon feels.
I think that's the way the dungeon feels, yeah. In fact, I kind of teased before you all made it to this western side that when Vestris opened that one door and like you saw the hole in the ceiling, like up in the water, and she like felt uneasy and like backed away. That was supposed to be a tease of like, hey, maybe this is where
yeah.
Like y'all need to get up to.
Yeah.
So that's pretty close by. I mean, we could honestly, if we can get this battle done, I guess I don't want to be too forward, but we could possibly wrap this up next session. Not the campaign, but this this
fight.
This dungeon area. If we depending on how long this fight takes, I guess. This fight could potentially take a full session if things get real sideways. If that happens, then I could see it taking another session to deal with the other stuff happening.
Yeah.
So we're either looking for one more session here or 2 more sessions here. And then, honestly, I think we have like 2, maybe 3 sessions after that.
Okay.
And we're donezo.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to look at it going like all of us are looking at vacations in March and like, all right, what is the schedule here?
Like, how do we actually do this? Yeah.
So most likely we'll be hit by the vacations. And we probably won't be able to end up before then because I certainly don't want to rush things too much.
Right.
So we may end up scooching into April, but we are getting pretty close to the end at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't spoil too much more about that.
I don't want you to. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else about this? I can't really talk about the prisoner thing too much because, again, I wanted to the one thing I went back and forth on is whether or not I wanted you guys to actually be able to unlock them here or
Do
save
it.
it
Yeah.
for the
It
control room.
did. That one did feel like a little bit of a in the TV like world where like an episode ends where you feel like the writers were intending for one thing to happen at the beginning of the next episode.
Yeah.
It's like, and between those two episodes, the writers changed their minds.
Yeah.
Because it did
'Cause
feel
you-
like at
yeah,
the end
you
of that
ended it with
last
these-
episode, you were like, Chasm's gonna be here next episode, and then you're
Yeah.
like, but no, he's actually not.
Yeah.
He's here, but not here yet.
He's not here yet. Yeah. Well, that was part of my concern is like, because that's obviously going to be a big social thing going
Sure.
on. And do I want to
I
do
mean,
that as
I
part
don't
of this?
know what his mental state is, but does he become an ally? Like, does
Yeah.
that become a whole thing? Yeah. So,
So I thought,
I can see why you're doing it.
yeah, I
for
was
sure.
like let's get through this part of the dungeon crawl first, and then fight this boss battle and do all that, and then we'll deal with that afterwards.
Yeah.
Which is why I could see that taking an additional kind of the falling after stuff after the boss fight. I could see that taking actually close to a session, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting close. Anything else about this session though?
I'll be curious to see how the fight next week goes.
Mm-hmm. This one is the Mind Flayer and the suit are from the book, and then I added some minions in here because every good boss needs some minions.
Of course.
But fun fact, this is basically the Warforged soldier stat block. Slightly reflavored, I guess, with like the arm cannons and stuff.
What book is that from?
Whatever the Eberron book, I guess.
Oh, Eberron. Okay.
Warforged are from. I think there's two. There's this one, and then they show up in the Vecna book because Vecna goes to the campaign, visits Eberron at one point. So
Okay.
you can find them in both books.
Nice.
All right, I think that's all we've got for this session of Chat from the Deep. Hopefully we get a full party together next session and surely rally and maybe not kill off Mac so close to the end. It would be hilariously awkward.
It would.
Hopefully there's a Revivify
I would
chance.
love for you to do that and then just say like, and then Borges becomes a full player character level.
Fucking Borges is gonna die here too. Honestly, that might be be the more, because there's probably ways to revive Mac, but Borges might heroically sacrifice himself to save Mac here.
That'll be interesting to see.
He already got shot a few times, so it's gonna get pretty dicey for him. He doesn't quite have the same plot armor.
Right.
Although Mac's plot armor is running thin as well.
I know. It's foreshadowing there.
Yeah, I know. All right, I think that will do it for this week's Chat from the Deep. Thank you to Chris and Raymond. Thank you to all our fans for watching, and we will see you next time.
See you next time.